Chapter 1: Donors and Dummies. People think working at a vampire blood bank is glamorous. Like it's some kind of sexy gothic club where immortal hotties in leather pants whisper your name and nibble your neck while violins swell in the background. It's not. It's a beige office building wedged between a payday loan place and a vape shop. No chandeliers. No crypts. Just me, a needle, and a terrified 20-something guy currently sweating through his t-shirt like he's auditioning for a horror movie. Relax, they don't even kill you. Well, not usually. You'd have to be, like, super annoying for that, I said, swabbing the inside of his elbow with alcohol. He gave me a horrified stare. Wait, what? Just kidding, I said, smiling like I wasn't. The needle slid in smooth. He whimpered. Ah, come on, that was barely a prick. You ever gotten a tetanus shot? Now that's pain. This is foreplay, I said. He looked like he might pass out, which would have been inconvenient since I still had another 3 minutes before the blood bag filled. I checked the monitor. Still flowing. First time donating? I asked. He nodded, eyes glued to the ceiling like if he looked at me he'd start crying. Cool. You'll get used to it. Or you won't and you'll never come back. In which case, congrats on being someone's snack one time. That's bucket list stuff. Noah. I turned toward the sound of my name, then immediately regretted it. Mara, the front desk manager, stood at the door like she was about to announce the Queen of England. Inspection, she said, her voice a whisper of doom. Inspection? You mean like health code? I swear I've been washing my hands. Mostly, I repeated. Mara stepped aside, and there he was, tall, pale, dressed like someone who lost a fight with a velvet curtain and walked away proud. His eyes scanned the room like he was personally offended by its existence. Lucien Vale, vampire nobility, the undead equivalent of a Michelin critic showing up to judge your hot dog stand. He walked in with the grace of someone who hadn't tripped in 300 years. His gaze landed on me and immediately curdled. I waved cheerfully. Welcome to Blood You Like It. Would you like to make a donation or just judge mine? Lucien didn't answer, just turned to Mara. That one is that human staff? He said, gesturing at me like I was a stain. That's Noah Reed, one of our top technicians. Very popular with our elite clientele. Mara said, nervously adjusting her name badge. Lucien turned to me again, eyes narrowing like he was trying to solve a riddle that smelled bad. He stepped closer. I smelled expensive cologne and centuries of disappointment. You handle blood with that demeanor, he said slowly. I glanced at the bag still filling from my donor's arm. Well, I did apply to be a barista, but this job offered dental. And also less chance of being yelled at by influencers. Lucien's mouth curled like the word fun physically hurt him. He turned to Mara again. He's a liability. Noah's been cleared on all safety protocols, clients like him. Especially Lord Everard, Count Rin, Lady Soriai, she said quickly. Lucien held up a hand. Enough. I'll be filing a formal complaint. I saluted. Be sure to spell my name right. He stared at me. I stared back. The blood bag beeped. I turned to the donor. All done. You lived. Congrats. He looked too dazed to respond. I removed the needle, patched him up, and handed him a juice box. Sip slowly. Don't pass out in the lobby. Vampires hate that. Lucien watched the whole thing like he was witnessing a crime. You mock the process, he said. Only because I respect it so much. Really, it's an honor to harvest blood for emotionally constipated immortals. I said. That did it. He stormed out without another word, velvet coat flaring like a theater curtain. Mara exhaled. You had to antagonize him? I breathed near him. You called him emotionally constipated. Behind his back. Mostly. She pinched the bridge of her nose. You're going to be the death of me. I patted her shoulder. If I'm going down, I'm taking at least 3 ancient vampires with me. As I returned to prep the next donation kit, I felt the familiar tug in my ribs. Not fear. Not guilt. Pain. I swallowed it. Forced a smile. Another day, another bag of blood. Another vampire who hated my guts. Business as usual. Chapter 2. The Walking Joke. Lucien Vale wanted me fired. I mean, of course he did. I had the audacity to exist in his line of sight, which for a vampire noble is basically a war crime. It didn't take long. Less than 24 hours after his dramatic inspection visit, I got called into the director's office, which, for the record, was just a sad little room with one flickering fluorescent light and a potted plant that had been dead longer than some of our regulars. Dr. Halvorsen sat behind his desk, fingers steepled, lips pursed. He always looked like he was debating whether to scold you or write your eulogy. "Noah, please close the door," he said. Never a great opener. I shut it behind me and dropped into the plastic chair across from him. If this is about the blood packets I labeled spicy and extra sad, I already fixed it. It's not about that. It's about Lord Lucien Vale. He sighed. Oh, let me guess. He's still recovering from my devastating personality? I said. Dr. Halvorsen didn't smile. Not even a twitch. The man was a fortress of disappointment. He filed a formal complaint. Wow, he really is the fun police, I said. He's requested your termination. I put a hand over my heart. I'm touched. I haven't been that important to someone since my cat tried to kill me by sleeping on my face. Halvorsen blinked, long and slow, like he was praying for patience or a meteor. I assume you're aware of how serious this is. Serious like a paper cut or serious like organ failure? You'll have to be more specific. That finally got a crack in his armor. A sigh that said he'd tried to understand me once and failed spectacularly. Noah, why must you piss off our clients? He asked. I don't. I just talk. And some vampires hear my voice and decide that's an act of violence. He leaned forward. You're an employee of a high-security, vampire-operated blood bank, and you treat it like stand-up night at a funeral. Funeral jokes are my best material. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Look, between you and me, I don't care if Lucien Vale hates your guts. I care that 3 of our most elite patrons specifically asked for you this week. And they tip in gold bars. Fancy, do I get a raise? Or just the privilege of being snack of the month? I said. He ignored that. You're safe for now. But for God's sake, Noah, maybe try not to poke the ancient predator next time. No promises. He looks like a man who's never been heckled. And I think it builds character. I said, standing. As I opened the door, I nearly crashed straight into a wall of expensive velvet and brooding. Speak of the devil in a cape. Lucien Vale. Again. He looked down at me like I was roadkill in his driveway. His eyes, pale and predatory, narrowed. I grinned. Dracula called. He wants his drama back. His lips didn't move. His eyes didn't blink. The only reaction was a small flare of the nostrils, like he was trying not to breathe me in. Do you ever shut your mouth? He said. Only when I'm unconscious, which could be arranged, depending on how hard you hit me. I replied. Dr. Halvorsen cleared his throat behind me. Lord Vale, I've already reviewed your complaint. And? Lucien asked coldly. I've chosen not to act on it at this time. Mr. Reed remains employed. Lucien turned his death glare back on me, like he could vaporize me with sheer aristocratic disdain. I smiled like I had nothing to lose, which coincidentally was true. I see, your establishment prioritizes amusement over decorum. Noted, Lucien said. Come on, don't act like you've never been amused. That stick up your ass wasn't always there, right? I said. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Dr. Halvorsen looked seconds away from collapsing. Lucien took one slow step toward me. You should be grateful I don't hold grudges, Mr. Reed. Oh, I am really. I can tell you're a live-in-the-moment kind of guy. Very zen. Very kill now. Forgive never, I said. His lip twitched. Was that almost a reaction? No, probably just disgust. He turned, coat flaring again like he had a personal wind machine, and swept out without another word. Once he was gone, Halvorsen just slumped back in his chair and muttered, Why me? I left the office whistling. Out in the hallway, Mara caught up with me. You're seriously pushing your luck. Luck is a myth. I'm just riding the wave until the whole system crashes, I said. Lucien Vale's one of the oldest nobles in the region. Yeah, and he dresses like the Phantom of the Opera's understudy. Doesn't mean I have to kiss his boots. She stared at me. Do you have any sense of self-preservation? I smiled. I used to. Then I got the terminal illness starter pack, and it kind of expired. She didn't laugh. No one ever did when I told the truth. But that was fine. I didn't need them to laugh. I just needed to keep going. Because if I ever stopped long enough to feel the weight in my chest, the dull ache behind every joke. Yeah. Let's not. Back to work. Chapter 3, Blood and Blades. I always knew I'd die in a medical facility. I just assumed it'd be a hospital, not a vampire blood bank. Shows what I know. The day started normal enough. A little bloodletting, a little flirting with death, and, by accident, a donor's boyfriend, and exactly one passive-aggressive post-it note from Lucien Vale on my workstation. It read, "Noise pollution kills, Mr. Reed. Silence is an underrated virtue." In perfect, dramatic cursive. Signed with a wax seal. So yeah, nothing unusual. Lucien had been stalking the halls of the bank like a pissed-off cathedral gargoyle ever since his complaint got denied. I think he was hoping to catch me tripping over protocol so he could mount my head on his antique wall. He was in the lobby today, leaning against a pillar like a living oil painting, glowering at the air. Black coat, black gloves, black mood. All he needed was a violin soundtrack and a thunderstorm. I was just about to walk past him, planning to whisper boo on the way, when the front doors exploded. And I mean exploded. Glass shattered. Screams erupted. A flash of silver tore through the air like a demon on Red Bull. Chaos hit instantly. A figure in a hood charged through the smoke, wielding a long blade that shimmered like it hated vampires more than I did morning shifts. Lucien barely had time to move. The attacker lunged straight for him, blade arcing. Fast. Too fast. And I didn't think. I shoved him. Hard. Lucien staggered back. And the knife hit me instead. It slammed into my side like a white-hot freight train, and I swear I heard the blade crack bone on the way in. Everything jolted. The world spun. My legs gave out like wet noodles. I hit the floor hard. Blood. Mine. Everywhere. The attacker screamed something I didn't catch. Maybe a name, maybe a curse, and bolted before the guards could converge. Lucien didn't chase him. He was suddenly on his knees beside me, hands at my side, eyes wide in a way I'd never seen. Not cold, not angry, shocked. "You fool," he said, voice low and sharp. I laughed, or tried to, came out more like a wheeze. "What, no thank you? You're bleeding." "Ah, you noticed. Was hoping this would get me workers' comp." I coughed. Warmth filled my mouth. "Not great. I'm a vampire, and a mere blade can't kill me." "Fool." "Yeah, that's I forgot." I muttered. Everything hurt. My chest, my ribs. Breathing felt like inhaling knives. Lucien tore off his gloves and pressed down on the wound. His hands were ice cold. His expression was wrong. Not composed. Not disgusted. Scared. Why the hell was he scared? "Noah, stay awake," he said. My name sounded weird in his mouth. Less like a warning. More like a plea. "I'm not sleeping. I'm just resting my eyes while my soul escapes." I mumbled. "Stop talking." Rude. More footsteps. Guards swarming. Voices yelling. But all I saw was Lucien, pale and furious, trying to hold me together like I hadn't just decided to become a human pincushion. Then darkness. I woke up to silk sheets and the faint smell of expensive wood polish. My first thought, did I die and get buried in Dracula's guest room? My second thought, why does my side feel like it got into a bar fight with a lawnmower? I blinked blearily. Massive four-poster bed. Dim lighting. Fireplace crackling. A chandelier the size of my student debt hanging from the ceiling. Definitely not a hospital. Lucien's mansion, then. Which meant Lucien. He sat in a chair by the window, staring out like he was thinking about killing the moon. When he noticed I was awake, he didn't move. "You're alive," he said. Sorry to disappoint. You lost a dangerous amount of blood. Yeah, but I've got like a few pints left, right? He turned slowly. Why did you do it? What? Bleed all over your marble floors. It's a hobby. You took a blade meant for me. I shrugged and winced instantly. Reflex. Don't get excited. You could have died. Again, reflex. And maybe I figured if you got stabbed, I'd have to do paperwork. Lucien stood, walked over. His expression was unreadable, but not cold exactly, just confused. I looked up at him. So, do I get a medal or what? He said nothing for a moment. Then, you are the most frustrating human I've ever met. High praise from someone who probably met Napoleon. He almost smiled. Almost. Then softly, you fool. I blinked. What? You are a fool, he said. Chapter 4, Involuntary Roommate. When I woke up the second time, I thought maybe I'd hallucinated the whole thing. The knife, the blood. Lucien's hands pressed to my side like he actually gave a damn. But no, I wasn't dead. Just horizontal, stitched up, and propped on more pillows than I'd seen in my entire adult life. And Lucien was still there, sitting by the fireplace like a very tired gargoyle, arms crossed, eyes closed. He wasn't asleep. Vampires don't sleep, right? Or maybe he was just powering down like a haunted Roomba. Either way, the moment I shifted, he opened his eyes. You're awake, he said, again, like I was constantly disappointing him by surviving. Yeah, still not dead. You sound thrilled. I rasped. He stood with that eerie vampire smoothness and walked over. You've stabilized. The medics left hours ago. Cool. So, I can go. No. I blinked. What do you mean, no? You're under my protection now. I stared. Did I miss a wedding proposal? He didn't even blink. The hunter was targeting me. Because you intervened, you're now a potential second target. Lucky me. What's the plan? Throw me in vampire witness protection? Do I get a fake name and sunglasses? I muttered. You're staying here. I sat up too fast and immediately regretted it. Pain stabbed through my ribs. What? You will live here. My home is secure. Yours is not, he repeated. You mean my 2-bedroom apartment with the broken heater and a neighbor who plays saxophone at 2 a.m. isn't safe from professional killers? Shocking. Lucien didn't respond, just crossed his arms like the judgmental statue he was. You have no choice. Plus your blood smelled so good. It will be a waste if you died. I narrowed my eyes. Did you bite me while I was out? Be honest. No. Are you thinking about it? No. Are you lying? He looked at me like he was calculating whether jail time was worth it. I didn't agree to this, I said. He arched a brow. You'd prefer to die in your sleep? I hesitated. That wasn't a fair question. Lucien seemed to notice. His voice dropped. You got stabbed for me, whether you meant to or not. Whether it was meaningless at all. Either way, I'm repaying the debt. Oh, good. Vampire life debts. That always goes well in fairy tales. I said, I don't care for fairy tales. Clearly, you're more of a haunted opera kind of guy. He turned and walked out of the room like I wasn't worth finishing the argument. Which, fine. Great. Totally normal. I laid back and stared at the absurdly high ceiling, wondering how my life got so weird so fast. 1 minute I was poking fun at immortal clients and ignoring my prognosis. The next, I was living in Vampire Versailles with a guy who looked like he auditioned for Interview with the Vampire and got rejected for being too dramatic. Later that night, Lucien showed me my room. Correction, chamber, because that's what you call a space with dark oak walls, antique furniture, and a 4-poster bed the size of a compact car. This is ridiculous. Is there a secret passage in the closet? A cursed portrait? A ghost butler? I muttered. Lucien said nothing, just gestured to the wardrobe. You'll find appropriate clothes there. Appropriate for what? A midnight waltz? A blood cult initiation? Something that isn't that abomination you're currently wearing. I looked down at my hoodie. It had a ketchup stain, possibly also blood. This is vintage. It's repulsive. "You're repulsive." He didn't respond, just closed the door behind him with a click like a parent giving up on their rebellious teen. I explored later, because if I was going to be imprisoned in Vampire Downton Abbey, I at least deserved a tour. The place was absurd. High ceilings, oil paintings, a dining room longer than my entire apartment, a library that smelled like dust and secrets, no TV, no Wi-Fi, just candles and silence and books with titles like Bloodlines and Betrayals and the Art of Nobility. I found Lucien in one of the sitting rooms, reading something ancient. He didn't look up. "This place needs a playlist, maybe some K-pop, BTS. Spice things up," I said. "Leave. You really know how to make a guy feel welcome." "I didn't ask for this," he said flatly. "Well, I didn't ask to be stabbed, bled out, and moved into a vampire's murder mansion. But here we are." He finally looked at me. "You're remarkably ungrateful for someone whose life I'm protecting. And you're remarkably cranky for someone whose life I saved. At least I thought I saved." Silence. A beat. Then quieter. "You don't know what you've done." I frowned. "What does that mean?" But he didn't answer. That night, I lay in the massive bed, staring at the carved wooden canopy overhead. The sheets smelled like cedar and money. Everything felt too clean, too quiet. Back home, there was always noise. The hum of traffic, the neighbor's TV, the world reminding me it was still spinning. Here, felt like I'd been buried in velvet. And maybe I had. For the first time in a long time, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was in pain. Not because of the usual nightmares. Because this whole place felt like a coffin. Too soft. Too still. Too final. Chapter 5, You're Not Funny. Lucien Vale had a problem. Me. Specifically, my voice. My face. My habit of filling silence with jokes like it was holy water and he was the devil. And apparently, today was the day he decided to fix that. It started with a door slam. Not mine. His. I was in the hall, halfway through a walk I hadn't asked permission to take, admiring an old painting of some noble vampire dude frowning at a bowl of fruit. Then Lucien appeared, eyes cold and jaw locked, like he'd just been forced to speak to another noble and needed to murder something to recover. He looked at me. I waved. "Morning, sunshine. Did you sleep like the dead? Or is that too on the nose?" He stalked toward me without saying a word. I took a slow step back. "Okay. Yikes. I know that look. That's a vampire scolding incoming look." Still no words. Just the looming, the glowering, the dark Prince of Doom routine turned up to 11. He backed me into the wall. His voice, when it finally came, was razor sharp. "Do you ever stop talking?" I blinked. "Wow. Original. Did you practice that one in front of a mirror? Oh wait. Do those still work for you guys, or?" He slammed a hand next to my head. Not touching me, just close enough to make the air vibrate. "You don't understand the danger you're in, your jokes, your defiance. This isn't a game," he said low and deadly. "Funny. Feels like one. You're just mad you're losing," I said. His eyes flashed. "You think you're clever. I think I'm hilarious. You, on the other hand, have the comedic range of a funeral brochure. Why? Why do you act like this? You almost died, and you still mock everything around you." He snapped. I opened my mouth for another quip. I really did, but instead I choked. And then I coughed. Hard. Sharp pain lanced through my ribs. And before I could stop it, blood hit my hand. Not a smear. A splatter. Lucien froze. I stared at it, crimson staining my palm like an accusation. Well, that ruined the bit. I laughed, because of course I did. "Relax, just a little internal bleeding. Very chic," I said. "You're not faking," he said quietly. I looked up. "Seriously? You thought that was fake? What, you think I carry around blood capsules for dramatic effect? I assumed you were being theatrical. You're always being theatrical." He trailed off, voice suddenly distant. I wiped my hand on the inside of my hoodie. No point hiding it. Newsflash. Dying people can still be annoying. Sorry if I didn't fit your aesthetic of tragic silence. Lucien stepped back like the sight of me hurt him. Good. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked. "I did. You just weren't listening," I said, shrugging. He looked like he wanted to argue, or maybe vanish into the floor. Instead, he said nothing. The silence stretched. I broke it, because of course I did. "I guess you thought I was making it all up for attention. Very Disney villain of you. That's not what I... Save it. I've got enough people pretending to care," I muttered, pushing off the wall. Lucien moved toward me again. "Noah, don't..." I snapped, suddenly tired, bone deep. His expression cracked, just slightly. Not enough for me to feel better. Just enough for me to walk away before I could collapse in front of him again. Later, I sat alone in the library, hunched in an armchair that probably cost more than my entire apartment. I pressed a towel against my side. Not for the blood that had stopped. Mostly, it was for the pressure, the pain, the reminder. I was still dying, and no matter how many jokes I made, that clock kept ticking. Lucien didn't come looking for me, which was good, because if he had, I wasn't sure whether I'd throw a book at him or let him see what I actually felt. And that would have been worse. Chapter 6: Monster in the Mirror. I never thought I'd miss the sound of traffic, or the neighbor's saxophone, or the plumbing that howled at midnight like it was haunted. But the silence in Lucien's mansion was worse. It didn't just fill the space. Pressed on me. Heavy. Like it knew I didn't have much time left and wanted to speed the process up. I'd spent most of the day alone, avoiding eye contact with the world, and Lucien, and especially myself, which made what I did next kind of stupid. I stood in front of the mirror, full length, gilded frame, probably older than America. I looked like shit, pale, thinner than I remembered. My eyes had bags under them big enough to carry emotional baggage. And my ribs, they still ached from the knife wound. But even without that, I could see it. The slow unraveling. I lifted my shirt just enough to see the bruising. Purple, red, sickly yellow. Battle scars, I joked silently. But the war was inside me and I wasn't winning. I leaned closer, staring into my reflection like it owed me answers. Like if I stared hard enough, I'd see the version of myself that used to exist. The one that had hope. Or fight. Or at least the energy to pretend better. But all I saw was a joke running out of punchlines. A door creaked behind me. I flinched. Lucien's reflection appeared behind mine. Of course he didn't knock. Vampires probably considered knocking a sign of weakness. I didn't move. Neither did he. He looked at me through the mirror, eyes unreadable. "What? Did you come to make sure I'm not bleeding on the rug?" I asked. Silence. "I didn't know you'd be in here," he said. "You live here. Everywhere is fair game." He stepped closer, slowly. I didn't turn around. It was easier to talk to his reflection. Less real. "You shouldn't stand," he said. "Why?" "Afraid I'll keel over and ruin your aesthetic." His jaw clenched. "That's not what I meant." I exhaled. "Then say what you mean, Vale. For once." He hesitated. Then, "You hide behind jokes." Gee, I've never heard that before. Truly, you're the Sherlock Holmes of emotional dysfunction. "I'm serious." "So am I. You want to know what's behind the jokes? You won't like it." I finally turned to face him. "Try me." So I stared at him. Let the sarcasm fall away like ash. "You ever look in the mirror and realize you're watching yourself rot in real time?" I said quietly. Lucien didn't answer. "Every morning I check. New bruises. Less color. More weight loss. My doctor says it's progressing." I say that's a fancy word for dying, but with paperwork. His eyes flickered. "And the worst part? Nobody knows what to say to me anymore. So they stop saying anything at all." I added, "Is that why you joke? To keep people talking?" He asked. "No, I joke because if I stop, I'll scream. And I'm afraid if I start screaming, I won't stop," I said. The silence after that felt louder than any scream I could have made. Lucien took a step closer. Not looming this time. Just there. "I saw your chart, the blood work. The scans," he said. I laughed bitterly. "What? Did you sneak into my medical files for fun?" "I had to know." And now you do, congrats. I'm dying. Slowly. Quietly. And all I've got left is gallows humor and a personality that makes people leave the room. I said. I haven't left, he said. I looked up, surprised. He met my eyes. Steady. No cruelty. No pity. Just something else. And that was almost worse. Because if he pitied me, I could push him away. But this made me want to believe he cared. I looked away fast. Well, thanks for the trauma talk. Always a pleasure, Count Bleak. I turned toward the door, but he said one more thing before I could leave. You're wrong, you know? I stopped. You're not alone, you just think you are, he said. I didn't turn around. Didn't answer. I just left. Because if I stayed any longer, I might have asked him to keep talking. And that would have made it real. Flashback. 6 months earlier. Fluorescent lights. Hospital sheets. The beep of a heart monitor that never shut up. I lay there alone. No visitors. No texts. Just 3 missed calls from the doctor I was ignoring and a treatment plan I couldn't afford. My phone buzzed. I didn't check it. Because what was the point? It wasn't my brother. Not anymore. And anyone else? They'd stopped checking in weeks ago. I rolled over and stared at the blank wall. And I thought, if I disappear, who notices? No one. Except maybe the nurse on duty. And she already hated my jokes. Chapter 7, Biting is Personal. The invitation arrived in the form of a handwritten note slid under my door. Cream-colored paper. Black ink. Elegant script. Which already meant I wasn't gonna like it. Lord Lucian Vale is requested to attend a gathering of noble clans this evening. Attendance is compulsory. Guests are permitted. Human companions' blood will be symbolically offered for rites of unity and allegiance. Cute. I read it twice, then a third time just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Nope. Still there. Symbolically offered. That's vampire code for we promise not to kill your human. But we will make a big show of pretending we might. When Lucian showed up 20 minutes later, I was still staring at it. Evening. Planning to RSVP for you and your +1 blood bag? I said without looking up. He ignored that. Of course. You'll need to dress accordingly. Oh, don't worry. I've got just the thing. I'll tape a blood type label to my chest and wear a nice shade of willing sacrifice beige. I said. Noah. No, really. Should I bring a tray of my own plasma? Maybe pass out samples? He exhaled slowly. It's a formality, right? Nothing screams formal like letting a bunch of vampires sniff me like I'm the wine at communion. You'll be safe. You say that like safety has ever been part of the job description. He didn't argue, because he couldn't. Instead, he said, wear black. I'll send for you at dusk. The ballroom looked like Versailles had a baby with a mausoleum. Chandeliers, velvet, gold-trimmed everything. Vampires in tailored suits and vintage gowns. You could practically hear the generational wealth and emotional repression. And then there was me, in black slacks, black dress shirt, black tie. Dressed for my own funeral, which, funny enough, felt appropriate. Lucian walked beside me like a silent storm cloud. Controlled. Composed. Gorgeous in that intimidating, I've killed people for less look. People turned when we entered. Their eyes lingered on me like I was a smudge on the carpet. We stopped near the center of the ballroom. A raised dais stood ahead. 3 elders sat in carved thrones like they'd been waiting for death but got bored and stayed alive out of spite. A woman in deep red stepped forward. Lady Myron, one of Lucian's peers. Old, sharp-eyed, mouth like a blade. Lord Vale, you honor us, she said. Lucian nodded. Lady Myron. Her gaze flicked to me. And this is your guest? I offered my best pageant smile. Hi, Noah Reed. Human disaster. Here for the snacks, apparently as the snacks. A few vampires chuckled. Most just stared. Lady Myron smirked. The rites require a symbolic offering. Your human's blood will suffice. Lucian didn't speak right away, which was weird. He usually had no trouble throwing me to the wolves. Figuratively, anyway. Of course, if you object, another human can be arranged. But that would raise questions. Myron added, Lucien's jaw tightened. There will be no offering. The air shifted, like someone had just slapped a pope. Myron tilted her head. It is tradition. I don't care. I blinked. Wait, what? This one is not for display. He is under my protection. My house. My name. Lucien said coldly. Well, that was dramatic. And kind of hot? Myron arched a brow. You speak of him as if he's more than a servant. Lucien said nothing. That said everything. The room murmured. A wave of tension rippled through silk and lace and tailored arrogance. I swallowed. My heart thudded too loudly in my chest. I could feel the heat in my face. Not from pride, but embarrassment. Like I'd just been paraded in front of a firing squad in formal wear. I can do it, I said quietly. Lucien turned to me, fast. No, it's not a big deal. It is, you are not a symbol, he said. I laughed. Or tried to. You're a vampire, Lucien. Everything's a symbol to you. I said no. And for once I didn't push. Because the look in his eyes, that wasn't about pride. Or rules. Or even me being a human. It was fear. Real fear. The kind that says if they touch you, I will burn this entire room to the ground. Lady Myron inclined her head. As you wish. But know this decision will not be forgotten. Lucien nodded once. Let them remember. The moment we were out of sight, I leaned against a marble wall and exhaled like I'd been holding my breath the entire night. You really went full vampire dad in there? All that not for display and my name nonsense? Was I supposed to curtsy? I said. Lucien looked at me, unreadable. You looked pale, he said. Wow, thanks. I was going for anemic porcelain prince. You nearly collapsed. I blinked. What? You were shaking. I paused. I'm fine, I said quickly. No, you're not. He stepped closer. Not looming this time. Just close enough to read me. You should have told me. I shrugged. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me crack. You shouldn't have had to stand there at all. Silence stretched between us. Then I said, softly, you didn't have to protect me, you know? He shook his head. You don't understand. Then explain. He hesitated. Then, voice low, biting is personal. It's not about blood. It's about claim, connection, history. To offer your blood to them would have been a public admission that you belong to no one. I frowned. And if I do belong to someone? He didn't answer. Didn't have to. Because in that moment I saw it. Not anger. Not disgust. But something else. Possession. Fear. Longing. I looked away before I could feel anything stupid. Come on. Let's get out of here before one of them tries to monologue me to death. I said. Chapter 8. A taste of pain. It hit me somewhere between the stairs and the hallway rug. 1 second I was walking. The next the world tipped sideways. My knees buckled. My vision went white hot and then black around the edges, like someone had punched the color out of the air. I barely heard Lucien's voice. Just the word, Noah, and then hands. Cold, steady hands catching me before the floor could finish what the disease started. I tried to joke. Something about dramatic timing, maybe, but all that came out was a wet, ugly cough. Blood hit my lip. Again. Shit, is this how you guys mark your territory? Because I'm not into it. I rasped. Lucien didn't laugh. Of course he didn't. He looked terrified. Really, truly terrified. He carried me like I weighed nothing, which, to be fair, I kind of didn't anymore, and laid me out on one of those broody velvet couches. Talk to me, he said. I was going for stumble chic. Too much? I muttered. His eyes scanned me like he could diagnose something centuries of doctors couldn't. He pressed a hand to my forehead, then to my chest, listening. No pulse spike, no fever. Just. He stopped. You're fading. Wow, 10 points for bedside manner. I whispered. He stood quickly, paced once, twice, then stopped. His shoulders were tense. Too still. I need to feed to stabilize you, he said. My breath caught. You mean, you need to feed on me? He nodded once. It's the only way. Just enough to fortify your body. I won't take more than. Do it. He froze. What? I looked up at him, my pulse weak, my lungs screaming, my mouth for once not clever. Do it. I'm not going out like this. Not now. I said again, quieter. He moved closer, cautious, hesitant, like I might vanish if he moved too fast. You're sure? I smiled, cracked and bloody. Just don't fall in love with me, Sparkles. His expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. He knelt, brushed hair from my neck like he was touching something breakable. Reverent even. This will sting, he said. Try to make it sexy, I whispered, and then his fangs sank into my throat. I'd imagined it before. Not seriously, not like a kink or anything. But when you work at a vampire blood bank, the thought crosses your mind. What does it feel like? I expected pain. I got pain. But not just physical. It was sharp, yes, like being punctured from the inside out, but it also lit something raw in me. Something cold and buried and miserable. Like he wasn't just drinking my blood, he was pulling out grief. Memories I didn't want to remember. My brother's last breath. The hospital. The empty apartment. All of it bled out of me and into him. And Lucien changed. I felt it. In the way he gripped me tighter. In the way his breath caught against my skin. In the way he shook. He was feeling it too. The sorrow. The sickness. The unbearable knowing of my body's slow betrayal. He pulled back fast. Too fast. Like he'd touched fire. His lips were red. His pupils blown wide. His chest heaving. I stared at him. He stared at me. Then, you taste. Yeah, don't say delicious. That'll kill the mood. I said, voice hoarse. Not delicious. You taste like pain. He looked dazed. Like a man waking up from a dream he didn't like. Well, I'm full of it. Congrats. You got the vintage blend. I said, trying to breathe. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Stood too quickly. Turned away. I closed my eyes. And for once, the silence didn't feel empty. Felt like change. Chapter 9. Coffin Conversations. The house was quieter than usual, which said a lot, considering it was normally quiet enough to hear a dust particle land. Couldn't sleep. Again. Surprise. Too many thoughts. Too much blood loss. Too many feelings, and I hated that part the most. So I wandered. Somewhere between the hallway of mood lighting and the endless library, I found Lucien in the sitting room. He was by the fireplace again. No book this time. Just staring at the flames like they might give him answers he hadn't earned. He didn't turn when I entered, but he knew I was there. I figured you'd be sleeping, he said. I flopped onto the couch opposite him. And I figured you'd be hanging upside down in a silk-lined coffin. Guess we're both full of surprises. No response. Just the fire crackling between us. And silence that felt not heavy for once. Just present. I glanced at him. His profile looked carved in marble. Strong, tired, timeless. You always look like that when you're thinking. Like you're solving the world's saddest math problem. I said. Lucien's eyes flicked toward me. I wasn't thinking. Wow. Brag about it. I was remembering, he corrected. Worse. Another silence. I pulled my knees up, careful not to agitate the bandages under my shirt. You ever regret it? The whole immortal blood-sucking nightmare thing? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. Then, not at first. Because of the power? Because of the escape. I blinked. Escape from what? Lucien's eyes didn't meet mine. Time, pain, grief. The feeling of being helpless while everything you love slips away. I stared at him. Ha, funny. I didn't even need to grow fangs to feel that. He looked at me then. Really looked. Noah. I'm fine, just tired. I lied. He didn't push. Smart man. We sat in that warmth for decoration silence for a while longer. Then I asked, softer, is it worth it? He tilted his head. Immortality, all this. Is it actually worth it? I said. Lucien was still for a long moment. So long I wasn't sure he'd answer. Then he said, no. The honesty in that one word hit harder than any bite ever could. Then why keep going? I asked. He looked back at the fire. Because eventually, you stop caring that it's not worth it. Wow. Put that on a motivational poster, I said. I'm serious. I know. That's the scary part. I paused. Lucien leaned back, shadows curling along his collar. The first 100 years, you mourn everything. The next 100, you forget. Then, eventually, you're not even sure what you lost. I nodded slowly. So you survive by becoming hollow. He didn't correct me. Didn't need to. I picked at a loose thread on my sleeve. I think I'd rather die than become someone who stops caring. Lucien's voice was quiet. That's what makes you dangerous. To you. To me. To them. To anyone who's forgotten what it means to feel anything real. I looked up. The firelight softened his face just enough to make him human again. Or maybe I was just too tired to tell the difference. I don't want to die, I joke like I do, but I don't, I said suddenly. Lucien didn't speak, but he was listening. I want to stay even if it hurts, even if it's pointless, even if all I get are a few more months. I said. You deserve more than months, he said. Yeah, well, the universe disagrees. He leaned forward. Just a little. If I could take it from you, the illness, the clock counting down, I would, he said. I believed him, which made it worse. I laughed, thin and tired. And what? Give me a century to make bad puns and piss off vampire royalty. That's a dangerous offer. I've made worse ones. I met his gaze. For once, neither of us looked away. Later that night I didn't sleep, but I rested. Not just because of the pain meds, not just because of exhaustion, but because, for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. And in a house full of cold walls, that felt like something worth remembering. Chapter 10, Funerals and Fantasies. The cemetery was old. Not dramatic old like Lucien's library or the Crypt Chic ballroom. Just quiet, real, a little overgrown. No marble statues, no gilded crosses. Just moss, cracked headstones, and the kind of silence that doesn't care if you cry. We stood under a crooked tree near the back. Gravel crunched under my boots. Wind tugged at my jacket. I hadn't been here in months. Lucien didn't speak. He just watched me, which was somehow worse. I hated bringing him. I hated needing to, but I hadn't trusted myself to drive. My hands still shook sometimes. Meds, nerves, who knows? I wasn't about to pass out on the freeway and make the evening news. So he came. Silent. Shadowed. Out of place in his pressed black coat. Like a ghost slumming it in a human graveyard. But he didn't complain. Didn't flinch. Even when I stopped in front of the headstone and said, "Here he is, Micah Reed, my better half, my stupidly kind, infuriatingly selfless idiot of a brother." The name was still there, carved into cold stone. Still real. Still impossible. Lucien stood beside me. How long has it been? 3 years. He died on a Tuesday. Sunny day. Disrespectful weather for a funeral, I said. Lucien didn't move. I knelt down, ran my fingers across the edge of the stone. You'd have liked him. He was way more tolerable than me. I doubt that. No, really. He was the golden child. Honor roll, rescued cats, volunteered at shelters, all that crap. I was the burnout with the sarcasm problem and a GPA that spelled nope. I laughed. It sounded wrong. He was also the first person who didn't treat me like I was disposable. Lucien said nothing, but he didn't leave. And that meant something. I exhaled, long and slow. You want to know the worst part? Lucien nodded once. I wasn't there when he died. I was in a different hospital, getting scanned, diagnosed. I got the call in a waiting room with pastel chairs and a vending machine that ate my dollar. My voice cracked, just a little. I missed the last thing he ever said, all because I wanted a second opinion. A long silence stretched between us. And then I said it, the thing I never said. I tried to die after. Lucien's head turned fast. I didn't look at him. I had the pills. I had the plan. And I was so tired. Of everything. Figured, why not? Micah was gone. I was sick. No one was watching. No one would notice. I swallowed. My throat burned. But I woke up. In a hospital. Again. Surprise, right? Even failed at dying. Lucien stepped forward. Slowly. Like he didn't want to spook me. You don't talk about this, he said. Nope. Why now? I looked up at the sky. Because I'm tired of carrying it. And maybe you're the only person who won't run from it. He didn't answer. Not right away. Then, quietly, I won't. I stood. My knees ached. My chest ached worse. I turned to him. And for once, he didn't look at me like I was fragile. Or broken. He looked at me like I meant something. I wiped my nose on my sleeve. Don't get weird about it. I'm always weird about things. Fair. We stood there together a minute longer. Just breathing. And then I muttered, You know, I bet Micah would have flirted with you. Lucien's brows rose. Oh, yeah. He liked pretentious guys with tragic eyes. You'd have been his exact flavor of vampire disaster. Would you have been jealous? Please. I'd have been relieved. He'd distract you and I could nap in peace. Lucien almost smiled. Almost. I let the quiet fall again. And this time it didn't feel empty. Felt like Micah might have liked it too. Chapter 11. Don't mock what you don't understand. I knew something was off the second I walked into the room. Lucien was already there. Standing by the window like a statue mid-breakdown. His hands were clenched behind his back. His coat was off rare. His jaw was locked. He looked like a man holding a scream in his mouth. Hey! If this is about me using your antique quill to write a grocery list, I already regret nothing, I said cautiously. He didn't laugh. Didn't even blink. Okay, bad sign. I stepped closer. Lucien. His voice came out like broken glass. How do you do it? I blinked. Do what? He turned sharp, fast, eyes burning. Mock it. All of it. Your life. Your death. Like it's a game. Like it doesn't matter. I froze. You walk around this house making jokes like your ribs aren't bruised and your lungs aren't failing. You smile like your body isn't collapsing. You make a performance out of dying. He snapped. My mouth opened. Closed. He wasn't done. Do you think it makes you brave? Acting like it's funny? Like you're untouchable? You're not. You're not. His voice cracked, just once. I laughed short, harsh. Wow. You really picked a great time to go full breakdown, Count Broody. This isn't a joke, Noah. Yeah, I know. I snapped. Something in me shifted. Broke loose. You think I don't know I'm dying? That I don't feel it every time I cough? Every time my chest tightens? Every time I wake up wondering if this is the day my heart just gives up? He stared at me. I stepped forward. You think the jokes are for you? They're not. They're for me. They're the only thing I've got left that doesn't hurt. Lucien's jaw clenched. Then stop pretending. If I stop pretending, I break. I cry. I fall apart. And guess what? Nobody wants to see that. Nobody sticks around for that. I said, I'm still here. My hands were shaking. I hated it. Yeah, well, maybe that's your mistake. We stood there, two disasters with matching damage, and for a second the air between us felt alive. Like lightning was about to strike. Lucien exhaled. Slow. His voice softened. You don't have to carry it alone. You think I haven't heard that before? That line gets thrown around like a lifeline, but it always snaps. People say they'll stay until it gets hard. And this is always hard. I said, I'm not them. Then prove it. The words slipped out before I could stop them. He went still. What do you want me to do? He asked. I didn't have an answer. I wanted him to fix it. I wanted him to make the dying stop. I wanted a time machine, a miracle, a reset button. Instead, I just said, I want to not be the punchline. And that hit harder than I expected. His voice was barely a whisper. You never were. Silence stretched. Then he took a slow step forward. Then another. I didn't move. He reached out like he might touch me, then stopped. Fist curling, held at his side. I'm sorry, he said, and I believed him, which somehow made it worse. Because the second someone means it, you don't get to hide anymore. I don't want your pity, I said. You have my respect. I looked away. That's not the same. No, it's more, he said. I hated how my throat tightened. I hated that I wanted to believe him. I hated that his voice sounded like safety, and I didn't know what to do with that. Later, I sat alone in my room, staring at the ceiling like it might explain the universe. The silence wasn't cruel tonight, just quiet. But I knew tomorrow the fight would start again. The pretending, the pain. But maybe now I wasn't pretending alone. Chapter 12. I'd rather bite myself. He asked me on a Wednesday, rain tapping the windows like an impatient thought. Shadows thick across the study. Lucien stood in front of the fireplace like he belonged to it. Tall, carved, beautiful in that cursed oil painting kind of way. I was sitting on the couch, half wrapped in a blanket I'd stolen from his chair. I was cold. I was always cold lately. He didn't preface it, didn't build up to it, just said it. Let me turn you. I froze. Not like dramatic movie-style freezing. Just stillness. My thoughts stalled. My breath caught. I looked at him. What? Lucien met my eyes. Calm. Controlled. But behind it a rare thing, hope. I can turn you if you consent. It won't heal everything, but it'll stop the deterioration. Give your body time to adapt. It'll save you, he said. I blinked. You want to save me? Yes. Why? His voice was low. Because I'm not ready to lose you. I laughed. Cracked. Well, I've got bad news about life in general then. Noah, you don't even like people. I like you. That shut me up. Because he meant it. Not as a sweet thing. Not even as something romantic. He meant it like a confession. Like a flaw he'd tried to repress and couldn't. He took a step closer. You don't have to die. Not like this. I can give you time. Time to what? Watch everyone I know turn to dust while I stay stuck in a castle with dramatic furniture and the world's grumpiest vampire. I said, I'd be there. I know that's part of the problem. I said quietly. He frowned. You don't want me. That's not true. I want a lot of things. But that doesn't mean I should have them. I said. He didn't get it. Not really. So I stood. Slowly. My ribs ached. My legs wobbled. But I met him head on. You think turning me is a gift. But it's just another kind of dying. A slower one. Quieter one. A lonely one. I said. You wouldn't be alone. You say that now, but you've lived centuries. I've barely made it past 25 and I already feel like I'm running out of me. What happens when I change, Lucien? When I'm not me anymore? I said. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. I'd rather bite myself than be trapped in a life that isn't mine. Not again. Not forever. I said. Lucien looked at me like I'd just broken something sacred. I'm offering you everything I have, he said. And I'm saying no, not because I don't want it, but because I want something else more. I whispered. What? To live the life I have, while I still have it. He looked like he wanted to fight me, argue, beg, but he didn't. Instead, he sat down, quietly, and he said, I don't want you to leave me. I felt something crack in my chest. Not from illness. From him. I know, but you have to understand. Some of us don't get forever, I said. We sat in silence. The fire flickered low. And for the first time, I felt like I was the one holding him together. Later, I stood in front of the window, watching the rain slide down the glass. Lucien hadn't left the room. He sat there like a shadow I couldn't shake. You could have turned me anyway, I said without looking at him. I wouldn't, not without your will, he said. That's the difference between a monster and a man, I murmured. I've been both. Then maybe that's why you get it. A pause. Then, softly, I hate this. I know. I hate that I can't stop it. I know. Another silence. And then, but you stayed. He didn't reply. He didn't have to. Chapter 13, Your Blood, My Sin. I knew something was wrong when I couldn't lift my arms. It wasn't pain, I was used to that. It wasn't even the usual bone-deep exhaustion. It was worse. It was absence. Like part of me had already started shutting down and just forgot to tell the rest. I was on the couch, I think, or maybe a bed, The room was spinning too fast to tell. My chest hurt. My lungs wheezed like old pipes in a haunted building. I could hear myself breathing, ragged, shallow, wrong. Lucien was there. Not standing this time. He was kneeling beside me. And he looked, God, he looked wrecked. Shirt undone. Hands shaking. Eyes hollow. Like he hadn't slept in days. Like something was rotting inside him and he couldn't tear it out fast enough. Hey, if this is about the time I broke your antique blood chalice, I promise it was an accident. I croaked. Noah. My name barely a whisper. I reached for him and missed. My arm flopped against the couch like it didn't belong to me. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a flare-up. This was it. Lucien, it's fine. I'm just tired. I've bounced back from worse, remember? I said, trying to sound normal. Cool. Joking. He didn't move. Didn't smile. Didn't try to comfort me. Which scared me more than anything. What's happening? I asked. He closed his eyes. Then, slowly, he said, your organs are failing, one by one. I can hear it. Hear it. Your blood is unraveling. Oh, cool. So that's what death sounds like to vampires. Neat. I said, blinking. Lucien stood suddenly. Too fast. His coat flared behind him, but he didn't notice. He paced once. Then again. Noah, I need you to trust me. He said, voice taut, fraying at the edges. That's terrifying. Why do people only say that before doing something irreversible? I said. He knelt again, held something out in his palm. A vial, dark, glass, glowing faintly with something that pulsed like it had a heartbeat. What the hell is that? Lucien's voice dropped. It's blood magic. Forbidden. Older than the clans. I stared at him. Are you serious right now? I've studied it in secret. Prepared it. Stored it. Just in case. You're going to get exiled. Or executed. Or flayed. Or all three. I know. He wasn't bluffing. He knew exactly what this would cost him. Lucien, you said you didn't want to be turned. This isn't that. This isn't immortality. It's life. Real life. Temporary. Borrowed. But yours. He said. I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. I'll lose everything, my name, my clan, my title. I'll be marked. He said, like it was a fact, not a plea. Why? Why would you do that? I finally whispered. His voice cracked. Because it was never a life before you. I choked. Not from pain. Not from the blood. From that. Lucien uncorked the vial with trembling hands. The liquid shimmered. Gold and crimson, violent and beautiful. He dipped 2 fingers in and pressed them to my chest. Just over my heart. It burned. Not like fire. Like memory. I saw flashes. His hands in old tomes. His fingers cut open in sacrifice. His voice whispering names in forgotten languages. I saw him break rules for me. Burn bridges for me. Bleed for me. He pressed a hand over mine. This will hurt. I'm used to that, I said. And then, everything changed. Light flooded my skin. Fire in my veins. My back arched. I screamed. My body convulsed like it was rejecting me. Then clinging to me, then rebuilding me. I felt my heartbeat restart like a hammer blow. 1, 2, 3. And then, stillness. Not death. Something else. Something alive. I woke up with tears dried on my face and the taste of ash in my mouth. Lucien was sitting on the floor. Alone. Exhausted. Drenched in guilt. You ruined your life for me. I whispered. He didn't look up. It was never a life without you. Silence stretched between us. I sat up, slowly, shakily, and looked at my hands. They weren't cold. They weren't shaking. I was still me, but whole. Alive. Lucien finally met my eyes. I smiled. Small. Crooked. You're such a dramatic idiot, I said. And then, thank you. Chapter 14. Still a joke. I was alive. Weird, right? No fangs. No craving for blood. No immortality package deal. Just alive. Lucien's magic didn't cure me. Not really. It didn't erase the illness or the history carved into my bones. But it stabilized me, stopped the freefall, pressed pause on the end I'd been spiraling toward. The doctors were confused. The vampires were scandalized. Lucien? He was exiled within 48 hours. Noble society made it very clear. Blood magic was a crime, and the only reason he wasn't staked was because he voluntarily stepped down before they could swing the axe. I was tired of them anyway, he said, which was code for, you were worth it. We moved into a smaller place. Not a mansion, not a crypt, just a normal, too-quiet house on the edge of nowhere. 2 bedrooms, a decent kitchen, a broken porch light Lucien couldn't figure out how to fix, and I refused to help with because I enjoyed watching him swear in 18th century French. I still had bad days. Some mornings I woke up coughing blood again. Some nights I'd get lightheaded and need to sit down mid-shower. But I was here, and for the first time in my life I wasn't afraid of that. One night, we sat on the floor of the living room, eating burnt microwave popcorn and watching a movie neither of us liked. Lucien looked sideways at me. You've changed, he said. Oh no, is it character development? I gasped. He rolled his eyes. No, really, I used to hate this. Slowness, stillness, being here without rushing toward the end. I said, and now, I leaned back on my elbows. Now it feels like I stole time from the universe, and I'm spending it badly on purpose. Lucien smiled. Just a little. As you should. I watched him for a minute. The way his features had softened in the months since the fall. He was still sharp, still cold around the edges, but he didn't wear it like armor anymore. He wore it like memory. You miss it? The titles? The power? I asked. He shook his head. They were never mine, not really. Just things I wore to survive long enough to meet you. I tried not to let that hit me as hard as it did. Careful. Say stuff like that and I might actually fall for you, I said. You already did. Damn, I said, snapping my fingers. He moved closer, slow and careful. Like always, we didn't touch right away. We didn't have to. Then I said, you sure you're okay with a dying clown as your lover? Lucien looked at me, held my gaze, and said, only if he stays immortal. I laughed, full, loud, real. Not because I was avoiding the pain, but because this time I meant it.